If there's one thing about Wuthering Waves that I really appreciate, it's Kuro's willingness to continue improving the game's quality of life and gameplay experience, not just based on player feedback but also anything they can think of. Feels like every new patch there's a laundry list of things they fixed up or added to the game. Not sure how much of that was requested by the players or if they're adding a bunch of things we didn't ask for but appreciate, but either way it's definitely refreshing that Kuro is diligent about this stuff. Normally, players have to start a riot or create loud enough backlash before companies acquiesce to doing their bare minimum. And I can kind of get why. Great UX design's a very thankless job. People seldom notice when quality of life gets implemented, but they are quick to notice when it doesn't, which is why I'm glad Kuro's getting the appreciation they've been getting for the effort. The game isn't perfect and has a few noteworthy flaws, but like I said in my year 1 retrospective, I gotta give credit where it's due. It's for this reason I think WuWa's the best game to make this sort of video for because they're the game that's realistically most likely to actually be receptive to it and implement the changes requested. So today we'll be going through 7 things, or I should say 7 more things WuWa could benefit from doing. Let's get into it. 1. More 4 stars. First order of business, and probably the most highly requested one, is 4-star characters. WuWa could use more 4 stars. The last one we got was Lumi back in 1.4 more than half a year ago, so I feel like it's about time they started making some more. They did tease a bunch of units to us during their first anniversary stream, and while I'm sure they're all going to be 5 stars, I wouldn't mind if 1 or 2 of them were of the lesser rarity. I will say this though, even though Wuthering Waves hasn't been releasing new 4-star characters, there hasn't been as much pressure for them to do so given the way they go about their units. For example, the fact that the 3 playable elements of Rover we have so far all perform quite well for a free unit gives every player, free-to-play or whales, a strong baseline when it comes to taking on the endgame. More importantly, Spectral and Dare Rover serve as a cornerstone for their respective engines. Even though Phoebe and Chacona doing a lot better, Zani and Cardathea can still get the job done even with only Rover, which alleviates the burden of pulling for all the hyper-specific units. On that front, WuWa's teams consist of only 3 party members as opposed to the usual 4 or 5 that most of the games have, meaning there's one less character you need to work on per team to get them off the ground. In addition, with most players having Verena on their team and Verena being able to work for literally any party on a competent level at worst, the need for new 4 stars isn't too imperative. That, and I'm pretty sure WuWa gives enough free asteroids per update to allow players the ability to pull for new 5 stars at a decent rate. And for those who have been playing since day 1, they'll have gotten the 5-star select, as well as the free 5-star we got as an apology for the rocky initial launch, and of course Shangli-Yao in version 1.2. Encore, Shangli-Yao, and Verena are still extremely present in the metagame. All the same, most of version 1 saw general team building with most characters being usable interchangeably with each other. For example, Sanhua and Verena being in almost every single party. But now that we're entering more specialized combat engines like Mono Fusion, Mono Arrow, Mono Spectral, it would be nice if they gave players a couple 4-star options to keep up with that. The current lineup of Sanhua, Mortefi, Danjin, Baichi, Chisha, the Rovers, and Yang Yang do a good enough job holding down the fort. However, more is always helpful. As for what kind of 4-star we would need the most, I'm honestly not sure. For Havoc teams, Danjin and Havoc Rover can work as a pair, and the former can play well with other Havoc units like Camellia and Frolova, so that's covered. Spectra teams have Spectra Rover and Verena. Again, Zani would like Phoebe, but it's still usable. Air Ocean has Air Rover. Glacier teams have Baija. Fusion teams have Encore and Shisha. They're not best in slot, but they do get the job done. I think a good 4-star option would be a 4-star Whimpering Waste character. Technically we have Yang Yang for that, but I think a 4-star DPS option with AoE grouping capability can be a huge help for people in Whimpering, seeing as that game mode isn't as skill divable as the other ones. You just need someone who can blast through as many enemies as possible, as quickly as possible. I'm not sure what free-to-play players are doing for Whimpering since I just take Camellia, GN, and Zani and AFK clear stuff, but I can imagine Whimpering Waste being difficult for people who don't have at least one super AoE clearing team or Rocha. Outside of that, probably another general hypercarry buffing unit. Right now the only 2 we have are Sanhua and Mortefi. Sanhua being good for how fast you can outro skill on her, and Mortefi's Liberation in addition to both of them being good conduits for Moonlit Clouds and their S6 20% attack buff, but maybe someone who could give like a general buff to attackers. I had half a mind to make someone like Chacona where their Liberation lets them choose what attack type they augment, whether basic attack, heavy attack, skill damage, what have you. That would be pretty cool. Overall though, given the circumstances, it's not an imperative need for one, but I think releasing a 4-star every couple versions or so would do good in keeping the roster more balanced. Number 2. Targeted Echo Merge. I know this one technically already has a solution compared to other games that flat out don't let you farm more equipment. WuWa gives you the ability to endlessly farm the main stats on echoes you want by going throughout the world and killing stuff, then once you run out you can go to a friend's world and repeat the process, which is great. But if I may be so entitled as to ask for more, I think the merging feature could use a touch-up. As you know, the data merge is a system wherein you can take 5 unleveled echoes and turn them into one new one at random. On some occasions, you can even get a buy one get one free deal with a bonus echo. Couple that with being able to theoretically farm echoes until you hate yourself, and main stats are practically a non-issue in WuWa. However, there's one grievance I have towards data merging, the fact that you cannot choose what echo you get. Basically, the game will hand you one of any echo type you have in the Pokédex, aka databank, but considering there's like 100 different echoes in the available pool, the odds of you getting the one you want are slim to none. You need to get the right cost echo first, 1, 3, or 4. Then you need to make sure that echo's in the right set, since one echo could be part of 2 or even 3 different echo sets. At that point, you can basically forget about aiming for a certain main stat echo. All the batch merge is meant to do is clear out your inventory space, because out of the 100 echoes you throw in there, maybe only like one of them is an actual good target stat. Which brings me to the number 2 suggestion. I would be more than willing to throw in 10 echoes or heck even 20 echoes if I was allowed to at least choose the Sonata set. We already have the onboard echo box that you get from the 1000 Gateways event, letting you choose from a selection of Sonata pairs to pull from. That could be a far better way of implementing the data merge than simply giving us a random echo. Yes, I'm aware given the fact that you can farm theoretically endless amounts of echoes in the overworld, the whole RNG thing from merging is somewhat of a non-issue. But the point of quality of life is convenience at the end of the day. Small of a change this might be, I feel like it's not beyond the realm of possibility for Kuro to implement it. Number 3. Training room. Not sure if this is something that would universally benefit everyone compared to the first two, but I feel like a training room would be fantastic for theory crafting teams and such. A place with a training dummy that sits there and lets you beat over it to measure how much DPS your team is doing would be awesome for people who want to practice a game. And if I'm not mistaken, Punishing Grey Raven has one, so Kuro's already familiar with such a feature. To my knowledge, there's already an NPC in the game that lets you practice dodging encounters in Jinzhou at the start of the game, and I believe you can still train with them even now. But having something with infinite HP that lets you practice team rotations and quick swapping would greatly help out players who want a low stakes environment to practice. Granted, real enemies don't just stand still and let you do your thing, but WuWa definitely has a steeper learning curve as far as combat goes. Some characters have fairly elaborate rotations that take a good bit of practice to be fast with. I'm aware every unit has a tutorial mode where you can try their combos and stuff out, but those don't allow you to bring teammates of your choosing, nor do they let you test different rotations or combinations to see which one has the highest damage. Most of the time, theory crafting is seen as more of a niche thing that spreadsheet slaves and sweaty players care about, but for WuWa, I actually think it's essential to have this kind of thing considering all the variables influencing a team's performance. Some people might look at a hypothetical rotation in DPS and think that's what they need to do, but they could be hamstringing themselves by not having the right practice. In addition to that, I think a boss simulator would be handy. It can get rather tiresome to learn the mechanics of a boss when trying to beat it, since at lower difficulties they just die immediately, and at higher difficulties they one-shot you. Perhaps a mode where both you and the boss are invincible and you're just practicing dodging and parrying certain things would be a good way for players to get the hang of bosses without having to go through the tedium of resetting over and over again. Although, I suppose ever since they made it so energy is brought to full at the start of each hologram, you can just keep throwing yourself at the boss until you eventually get the hang of it. But either way, a training room would be certainly worthwhile. Again, quality of life additions are less about what is immediately necessary and more about what's nice to have. Number 4. Waveplate Condensing. Kind of a small one, but something that I think would be nice in the off chance you're short on time but don't want to feel guilty about losing it. As you know, WuWa lets you store up to 240 wave plates, filling up over the course of 24 hours. Any additional points generated on top of that get stored into a bank of sorts that accumulates energy beyond 240 at a slower rate. Further, certain farming spots like the materials or taster field areas afford you the option to double claim as a way to shorten the amount of grinding you have to do every day. The implementation of those features is obviously very much appreciated since you can blow through your energy in a matter of like 5 minutes, so I might just be asking for a mile after getting an inch. That said, a way to condense wave plates into a separate type of item would be helpful for certain things, like if you're trying to stockpile energy to power farm a new character coming out who needs entirely new boss materials, or something along the lines of that. Echoes you can technically pre-farm via the 1000 gateway boxes, but overall some form of supplementary energy storage would be nice. Number 5. Autotune. No, not the kind of autotune you find in music videos. This is a personal gripe of mine. As someone who tries to min-max echo leveling, what I really dislike about leveling echoes is how I have to first level up the echo, then tune it, then level it up again, then tune it again, and keep doing that over and over and over every time I want to level up echoes for a character. I still don't really get the point of tuners, because if you're gonna put in the experience to level up an echo to 5, 10, 15 and so on, you're obviously going to want to tune them, at which point why even have the tuning system to begin with when you can just have the stat unlocked at each new threshold. But assuming they want to keep the system in the game, please give us a feature that lets us automatically use up a tuner to unlock the stat, because the whole process gets tedious when you're doing it for dozens of echoes at a time. Not to mention, it hurts my hand having to left click a bunch of times. I would like it if they can add this to the game, as I'd imagine many players also farm up a bunch of echoes, then level them up all at once at a later point. Or maybe I'm just in the minority, who knows. Number 6. Endless Mode. The last two things are going to be content related, but one thing I would love to have for this sort of game, on account of it being very hack and slashy, is an endless game mode. Sort of like a combination of Tower and Whimpering, where you face endless waves of enemies that get increasingly more and more challenging via some kind of procedural generation algorithm, and the goal is to get as far as humanly possible. To prevent the game from getting sweatier than it already is, they could simply add it for bragging rights or for leaderboard achievements, but no rewards. Longtime viewers of my Wuthering Waves content may know I often showcase background footage from Mormont, and it's incredibly satisfying to see someone really good at the game. Sweetly made a name for herself by literally skill diffing the game under the most extreme conditions, and the very nature of WuWa's combat engine makes it so you can pull off some crazy feats in this game. I'm not kidding, you should see dungeon mains. They unironically get off on keeping dungeon at perma 1 HP, then dodging and parrying everything like it's a die in the game, die in real life type scenario. In any case, Endless Mode offers players a chance to see how long they can hold out before enemies eventually get too numerous and too powerful for them to last any longer. I got this idea from stuff like Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door's Infinite Pit of 100 Trials ROM hack and Pokerogue. People go crazy for those games, and I can imagine a whole new niche of content for something like this. Imagine watching a streamer just perma-dodging and parrying everything and reaching level 100 or something, where mobs are so strong they literally one-shot you if they so much as touch you. I mean, I'd watch it. Number 7. Make Depths of Elusive Realm permanent. Depths of Elusive Realm was actually a ton of fun when it was around, and I can't figure out for the life of me why they stopped doing it. It used to be a big thing back in version 1, where we had it for version 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.4, but ever since they brought in the Fantasy 1000 Gateways thing, which I suppose is meant to be a spiritual successor, they never brought back Elusive Realm. Surely they can have both of them. Having a long-term progress thing in Wuthering Waves would be nice. I'm all for rotating game modes like Tower and Whimpering and whatnot, but as someone who grew up playing MMOs, I'm a sucker for continuous progress, something that makes me feel like my account now is much further in progression than 6 months ago in more than just how many characters I have. I think that's something all gachas stand to benefit from in general. It would be nice to have something in the game that makes people feel as if they're making steady progress towards an ultimate goal, instead of everything feeling like a routine that refreshes every so often. I'm not certain if they have plans to reinstitute Elusive Realm, but if they could make it a permanent thing and rework it a bit, that could be an opportunity to add some more long-term progression for players. Also, I miss the elusive store they had. Anyway, those are the 7 things I believe would be great for Wuthering Waves. Of course, there are way more than 7, but we'd be here forever then. Let me know in the comments below what quality of life updates or features you think they should add to the game. I'd like to hear what you have to say on this. As always, if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @FarsVerum, join my Discord server, and check out my other Wuthering Waves discussion videos if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.